everybody. Welcome back to Encouragement Today. My name is Vinny, and I am back with my wife, Krystal.
Hey.
It didn't know how to respond to that
Well,
one.
I was going to say, good morning, but you could be watching this at night, so not good morning. Just welcome.
Welcome
to this story.
Another show. We are in a series on adoption for the month of November, maybe more. We'll see how many episodes this comes out to. But if you haven't watched episode 1, you should probably go back and watch it. It's an intro to what we're going to be talking about for the next few sessions. And this is our series on adoption, foster care, that kind of stuff. And we started last week with the beginning of our journey, and we ended on a little cliffhanger about a picture, and also the fact that if God calls you to it, that he's going to take care of his kids. So, hey, make sure you go watch that. Again, like, share, subscribe. You never know who needs to be encouraged with this. And we're hoping to encourage you if you're thinking about adoption. If it's never even been on your heart, maybe this would spur you to something. So that's what Encouragement Today is all about. And thanks again for joining us. It's because of you that we're on here. So this is all for you guys. So here we go. Let's get into part 2 of our journey.
Yes.
And I don't even know, we don't have titles for these yet. So we'll make them up as we go, I guess, because we
or maybe we'll think of a really great title while we're talking.
Right. And maybe a good thumbnail, something.
No, I don't know about that.
Shocked face. What? I don't know.
So we're talking about adoption.
Yes, we're getting back into it.
Bringing it back. Can I give my little disclaimer?
Oh, another disclaimer. Yes, of course.
Well, same disclaimer.
Same disclaimer.
This is our story.
Yes.
Yes, this is our story as adoptive parents. Kind of starting at the beginning of that journey was last week, and now we're getting into it now. And we're coming up on our 10th year of our kids being adopted, and they're adults now. And so this is our side of the story and not necessarily their side, but we just want to share that with you.
Right.
Yeah.
Because their side is a little different than ours, right?
Yeah.
Their experience is much different than us. And so we don't want to share their feelings or anything like that. So we're just sharing ours.
Yeah.
It's a good way to put it.
Every family, every story, every adoption story looks different. And so this is just one snippet of what that might look like.
Right.
Yeah.
So again, last week we kind of talked through a picture.
Yeah.
We're talking about a picture of 2 boys.
Yes.
And hopefully we can have that for you on the screen. I think we have it. So we'll be able to show that for you. Of this kind of struck a chord with all of us.
Absolutely. God used that picture as a tool to say, okay, here's your first step. These are the boys you're going to host.
Right.
So they were going to come and stay with us for the summer.
Right. So let's talk through what hosting is, because I bet a lot of people that are watching are like, maybe I should do that.
Yeah.
And so let's kind of share our hosting story, and maybe people will want to do that. And we can put some links in the description of some hosting agencies as well.
It's for sure a great tool. Is that the right word? It's a great experience.
Yes.
To open your eyes to what it might look like, especially when it comes to international adoption.
Right.
Because for the hosting program, again, I said this last time, for the hosting program itself, it is an opportunity for kids who are in other countries, typically living in orphanages, to be able to come to America and experience life here.
Right.
That's the program. It's for the kids. They get to come. They get to stay with the family, have fun, have a great Christmas, have a great summer, whatever kind of program you enter. And there's also the second part of that if there's an adoptive family who meets a child or sees a child, they're able to say, okay, I could open up my home to adopt a child and bring them in to our family. So we saw this picture online.
We did.
From a hosting agency that was bringing kids over for the summer.
Right.
And these children their hosting agency worked with Ukraine.
Yep.
So Ukraine is the country, not a company. That's a different podcast.
That's a whole different podcast.
country that this hosting agency was bringing kids from. So Ukraine is near and dear to our hearts. That's where our kids are from. And we saw this picture of these two boys. And so two boys, Alex and Sasha, were the two boys of this picture, one of them in a little bow tie. And we said, we are going to bring them to Florida. Right. That's where we were at the time. And to have them stay with us for 6 weeks. And we're like, let's do this. And there was a lot. There was a lot of work, you know, just like bringing kids. There was a lot of paperwork.
Pause for a second.
Okay. I didn't know.
Because
I didn't know if we were getting ahead.
Yeah, because there was a picture that we saw, right? And then it was like, we literally, at least I remember myself going through every little picture to find the boys in the pictures. Do you remember doing that on the Facebook? Because they were in other pictures of kids, and we.
So you're looking. Oh, you're talking about all the different group photos and trying to see like where they are,
where they were in like wherever they were at the time, whether it's the orphanage or a summer camp that they were at. But just seeing like trying to find them and like all the little pictures that were sent to us, and it was like,
I think the hosting agency had to have brought maybe like 40 kids over for the summer, because the way it works is that, you know, the hosting agency would go to the country and go to different orphanages that they had relationships with and talk to the director and see, you know, what kids were kind of free to be able to come and do that kind of thing. You know, there are some kids who live in orphanages who still have, you know, relationships with family, or maybe they don't have the freedom to come to America, or maybe they can't. And so the hosting agency would find kids who could and were able to and had basically permission to come to America for the summer. And so they're bringing like 40 kids. So they're, you know, they would have all different pictures and you know, little girls, different ages, and kind of like what would be a good fit for your family. And the boys were a couple years older than our kids. So at that time we had 3. So probably should fill you guys in on that part. So we had, you know, our oldest daughter and then 2 boys, Victoria, Vinny, and Anthony.
Picture will be up. There you go. There's a picture.
Yeah.
Hopefully we can get all that stuff edited and added in.
I'm pretty sure our Facebook holds all the memories.
Yeah.
We'll get it from there too. And we did have a Facebook page. It still exists when we adopted, but we shouldn't share that because we would give, it would just, spoiler alert, it would give everything away.
Don't go searching for this stuff. It'll give everything away as
we'll hide it all now. We'll lock it down. No. But so we picked those 2 boys.
Yeah, so my memory of it all was like we knew tiny bits and pieces from the description that they sent over with the boy's picture, right? And it was like, okay, this boy likes this boy likes that, and knowing like all these little things.
One sporty, one artistic, and things like that.
It was and we were just literally drawn to these 2 boys, and it was for me, like I was like very excited, kind of wanting to see more about them and like pursuing I we'll call it Facebook stalking, but it wasn't that because it was just pictures at the time.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. And it was like finding every picture of them and being like, what are they doing? Like, how do they act? Like, but they were super kids.
Yeah. So we had to, you know, sign up for the hosting program. We had to do stuff. Even for that, there's paperwork involved. And we did basically a home study because they're not going to, you know, one country isn't going to send their kids to another country, you know, without their, you know, things being checked in on for this kind of program for it to be allowed. So like we basically had a home study of our house and, you know, someone come out and inspect everything and references and pastor references, all these things, fire safety checks, like all this stuff on our home to be able to have these kids. You know, these are reputable, you know, organizations that are bringing kids. So we did all that. And then they come to different airports. And of course, there wasn't one in Florida. So they came into Atlanta, Georgia. Do you remember that part? Did you forget?
I have not forgotten.
You're looking at me like you forgot.
You're jumping so far ahead in the story. I was like, how did we even get all the money to do it? I don't even remember that side of things. I think there was a lot of things that we probably did to raise the funds to get these boys here.
I think for hosting, because it does cost money. The people, the parents, families pay everything, their airfare and all that stuff. I think we did garage sales. I think that's what we really did back then. And we kind of, we got way into garage sales. At one point, you couldn't even see in our garage. It was so full of stuff. But we started doing that because then people would give us stuff to sell. You know, they were going to donate it anyways or give it to Goodwill. So they would give us stuff. So we did multiple yard sales and different creative things to even just raise the money for that. To be able, because we weren't hosting one, we were hosting two. So
and there was, I think there was I don't think anybody really helped us in a big way with the hosting part.
Yeah, we did. We just raised our own money, saved, sold stuff, garage sales, things like that.
Yeah, and it was, we did whatever we could to get them here.
Yeah.
And it was we were committed. We were committed.
Absolutely.
I remember that specifically. Like, we're going to bring them here. It's going to be a great time. Mm-hmm. And the day comes and they're coming to Atlanta.
Yes.
So
they've done like basically 24 hours of, travel to leave their city, to go to the main city, to take a flight, to take another flight, to get to Atlanta, Georgia.
Yeah.
And then they get here. And this is a question a lot of people ask. Well, did any of the kids speak English? Well, no. Nope. They're from Ukraine, and not like the capital city. So Google Translator became our...
So there's a difference between Ukrainian and Russian. We found that out right away. Right?
Yes, there are two different languages, very similar,
but different.
Yeah.
And
they spoke Russian.
And especially from the area that they were in, was a Russian area, speaking area, and so at the time, and so it was hard.
Well, they're coming from it's a culture shock. I mean, if you've ever traveled yourself, you go to a different country, there's a whole lot of things that you need to get used to. Well, now these boys are coming and staying with us, and they get to Atlanta, and we have to drive all the way to Florida, and even finding stuff for them to eat that they wanted to eat, clothes shopping, like, because they don't come with anything, and now all of a sudden you need stuff. Talk about overwhelming for them. Even I think like sickness was involved. There's like a lot of things. But thankfully we had things like Google Translate, which has improved tremendously since back then.
Yes.
But yeah, they didn't speak English and we don't speak Russian. And so
definitely not.
But we had an amazing summer with them. Do you want to cover like what that summer looked like?
Yeah. So the summer was, I worked a lot of hours in a restaurant at that time. Mm-hmm. So it was a little different in that regard, because I wasn't around as much as you were. Mm-hmm. So my interaction was usually during the times where I was off, and not working 14-hour shifts at a restaurant. And so it was, playing and doing those sorts of things, or, going out and soccer, and like there was a lot of soccer involved. Lots of soccer involved that summer. And so we'll have a picture of that up there too, of them playing soccer and things like that. And we had other kids who were part of the hosting program that came to friends of ours. So that was a really great connection, because we weren't feeling like we were totally on our own. We did meet up with the other families. And usually the hosting programs bring a facilitator. So someone from the country who usually can speak Russian and English. So a translator. Usually. The one that was with
with us was
not so much.
Not so much English, but we would get on the phone with someone if we had like really something that we had to deal with. We'd get on the phone with a translator for them to translate some things that, you know, communication that wasn't working very well, if we're having a problem. But it was great to have other families doing the same thing too. So we would do soccer games and get together and check in on each other. And so when we brought our kids, I remember bringing them to church.
Yes.
And it was like, can you imagine going to an American church? They were like, what is happening?
This?
But yeah, when we brought them, there were other kids there. So kids that they knew. And that was great. They weren't just feeling like they were like,
so that was like probably one of the lucky things that kind of came was having other families there, because if we didn't, I think it would have been really, really hard for them. It would have
been more of a struggle. Yeah. So it was a blessing to, you know, once a week, a couple times a week, have like check in and be with other kids. And we could do things with them. So they were all experiencing at the same time, like a beach day, and we all went together, or going to the park together, different things like that. We lived near Disney, so we got some of those experiences with the other families too.
Right. Yeah. I remember the Disney trip with, yes, that was fun. We had them in Patriots jerseys, I believe.
That was I remember we're originally, if you didn't know this, from Boston, so we are Patriots fans.
Yep.
Look at the Bruins right above
our
us.
Head is
this way, right here.
Yeah,
there it is.
Yeah. And above you is a New England Patriots helmet. So
there it is.
There it is.
Go Pats!
Shout out Pats that are awful now, but
Yeah, moving on from the Patriots.
Yes.
So we all had jerseys. We were extreme fans as it is. So we have multiple football jerseys. So when we went to Disney, we all wore them. So much so that literal people stopped us and asked to take pictures, like strangers. Yeah. Because like strangers from Boston who were Patriots fans were like, "You guys are amazing. Let's take photos with you." And so that happened a couple times.
They were like, "What is going on?"
Yeah, we're not famous.
Yeah,
we just like football.
Yeah. So that was a unique experience. I'm sure for them, they're like, "What is going on?"
Yeah,
you know, especially not speaking the language. I mean, it was wild, but we had an incredible summer with them.
Yep.
And did multiple things. And it was really, you know, there were times that were not perfect. There was, specifically times when somebody wouldn't get out of their room or off their bed.
What do you do when you have a plan and a child just says no?
No.
I'm not doing that. No. And you're like, but we're leaving.
Right.
And they're refusing.
Right. So we had we done training already with this?
I think we had done some basic training, parenting with connection training.
Right.
And so I think we had some resources, but it was when we say that hosting can really give you that experience, it really does open up your eyes, because we realized we need a lot more tools in the toolbox to be able to handle situations like this. And again, we did it with I believe a lot of grace for them, because it's all, their whole world was being rocked, even staying with us for 6 weeks. Food is totally different. The language is different. The whole culture is different. The pace of life is different. We're like, go and doing stuff. So there were times where, we had to figure out how are we going to navigate situations and work through that. So again, the translators were super helpful to be able to do that. And then even just talking and saying, hey, like, we've got all these other people. Are you going to ruin the day for everyone because you're refusing to get up and do this? When we had a fun day planned. But that was on that short term for hosting.
Right. And then there was, some battles between the brothers, right, that we had to.
Because sibling rivalry happens, so, in every situation.
Right. And so, like, even seeing that side of things was different, because our family did not act the way that they act.
Mm-hmm. They were a little bit older.
And they were older.
Yeah.
And it was like, there were some moments where, like, whoa,
Mm-hmm.
And, having a lot of teachable moments with them during our time with them, and a lot of teachable moments for us as learning this process, because we had to react a lot differently than we normally would, and respond differently than we normally would.
Well, the reality is that when you have kids coming from, an institutionalized living, they're there for a reason. And whatever their story is, they have gone through a lot.
Right.
And they've gone through trauma. And, not to go into research, but, and we'll put resources in the links. But the research is when, as a child, you're growing up and you are growing in your situation, and you have trauma, and there's neglect or abuse or any of those things that are there's a reason they're there. Right. There's a reason they're in the orphanage. Your brain literally is wired differently.
Right. It reverts, basically.
It reverts, and there are just
goes into a different mode.
Yeah. The fight or flight and not having the connections. So parenting how you would parent, a child that has been in your home their whole lives, is going to be and needs to be different, because they just physically, their capability is not to react the same way.
Right.
Because their brain hasn't formed that way.
Right.
They didn't get there's a cycle of need, and then there's a response, and the need is taken care of. Well, when you have need, no response, nothing's taken care of, a need, your brain is,
the response completely different.
Doesn't grow in a healthy way. So kind of getting a little in there, but
it's what the purpose of this is.
Yes.
Yeah.
So you have to deal with those things differently. So we did a lot of the connection parenting.
Right. And for us, I'm pretty sure we went to a training. It was a short one. We did the first one that we went to for this. I think it was only a 1-day thing. And we've done multiple after that. So for us, that was a huge help in understanding how to react and respond, how our responses are really going to make a difference in their lives, and how we can connect with them in some real ways during our time. And so we were able to break some barriers that were put up, and it was incredible to see their responses from the beginning of the trip to the end of the trip.
Yeah. So we had a lot of connections with Sasha and Alex, the boys, when they left our home. And they came very, close-hearted and not open, and there was a lot more connection by the time they left after those 6 weeks. And you know what? I think also really we talk about how different people are called to do different, things in the adoption world. And I have to say there were a lot of people, even in hosting and having the kids with us for 6 weeks, the boys, a lot of people joined in and helped, in ways that they could. There's a lot of things that you do when you host. It's typically taking care of basic things for them that may not have been done. So we had friends who were dentists, and they saw the boys and, did treatments and all these things for free, which is really huge.
Right. Doctors that stepped in.
Doctors who stepped in and did checks and things like that. So there are just different avenues that people helped, bought clothes, and because we filled up, suitcases to send home with them, supplies, things they needed. Yep. So people stepped in those ways, and just, encouraging and being a part of it.
We even had some people make meals for us during that time. So it's pretty cool to see that aspect of it. And then, so the process was incredible for us. There were some stories that we're not going to share, but that were not as great for some other families, because sometimes it's really hard on these kids, and they don't respond the way you think they're going to, and it may not go the way that our story went.
Yeah.
Right. And so we can't share details, but some stories the kids had to go from one home into another home because it just wasn't working.
Yeah.
And some people didn't know how to handle things. Some people weren't trained the way that other people were, even though we were told to do the things. Some people don't do those things. and then they wonder why it's not working too. So
yeah, there some stories of the host parent and the host child just not connecting,
right.
and that parent not being able to kind of break through to them, and so then the host parent thinks that they're being defiant, or maybe they are being defiant, but they're being defiant because it's part of their fight or flight response. And it's work to make those connections and break things down and make a child feel safe and secure when they haven't had security, like basically their whole life, and they haven't been able to trust the adults in their lives. And it's a lot of work, and not every, host parent realizes what they're getting into. It can be it's an amazing experience. You could have an amazing summer and do all these cool activities, but there's also work that is like heart work, and loving and caring that's going beyond our own, our own comforts, I guess.
Right. And so some families, it was hard. For us, it wasn't. They came. We had a couple of bad moments.
Just a few. Yeah, it was moments in 6 weeks.
And we honestly fell in love with the boys. And it was a hard day when we had to drive them back to Atlanta.
Yeah.
And I think even for them, it was super hard. Like you could see their reactions, their emotions. For us, our emotions were there as well. But we were like,
it was bittersweet.
We got to be strong. We got to be, we're trying to be super strong. And go ahead.
Well, I just wanted to say this: when the kids come and are hosted, it's the number one rule. You don't talk about adoption with the kids.
Right.
So we did not talk about adoption with them,
right,
because it was 6 weeks of them coming for an experience to stay with us. And it was not, hey, we're going to adopt you. Like, you weren't even allowed. You basically wouldn't be able to host again, or the kids could just be, they did not. The kids come first in these type of things. And so they do not want their hopes up. So we were sending them back without, we couldn't express, even if we wanted to, or we were thinking about adopting them.
Right.
We couldn't say any of that. It was, we loved having you for the summer. You're awesome. We'll keep in touch.
Right.
We'll message each other and, have a safe trip back home. That's how we had to leave it.
Right. And that's literally where we left it. At the airport, through many tears, on both sides, which was encouraging to us to see, like, they really responded well to us. We knew that that when they were leaving, that we were going to pursue adoption.
I think they left, and we were on that car ride back to Florida, and we called the adoption agency.
Yes,
and we're like, we're
sign us up.
We're gonna do this.
So they leave. We're in the airport, and somebody asked us what we thought, and I remember just going, we're emotional at the time, and it was like, no, like, that's not going to be the last time I see them, and it wasn't, and it was sad to see them go, but then they had to, so that we could pursue the adoption.
Yes.
And so we get in the car, we called the adoption agency immediately, which was funny because they were like, you literally just left the kid. So we're like, yeah, sign us up. Let's get this thing rolling. We want to move as fast as possible.
Yeah. We had at that point had enough, time with them and time praying about it, and time to say, okay, Lord, we're willing to bring kids into our home, and we're willing to, we want to,
bring the boys home. Yeah. And so that started the process of that. And it was an incredible time at this point to see God working through the hosting program. And so today we're going to stop there.
All right.
All right. Because I think there's more that we can share in the next episode on how to start the adoption process. And so, hey, if you're watching, again, make sure you like, share, subscribe, do all those things. We want to be encouragement to as many people as we can. And this show is for those people. So listen, this episode was all about hosting and how you can host some kids. There'll be links in the description section of how you can do that. Some organizations that we have vetted for you and that are doing good things. So please, if you're interested in hosting, these are great organizations that are in our description section. But we want to give you that opportunity as we celebrate Adoption Month in November, and share our bit of our story of what God has done through the adoption process for us. So you've heard a little bit about the boys, the picture, a little bit about our hosting, and we have a lot more to share as we continue this journey of adoption, and we're excited to do that for you. So Matt, why don't you pray for everybody, and then I'll close the show.
Yeah. And so we shared a little bit about our hosting experience. It was amazing. If you're thinking of hosting, it could be an amazing experience, even just to have kids, give them that experience to come to America.
You know what's
life-changing, even just those memories.
Think about it. Mm-hmm. And we've actually hosted it again.
We did?
Yeah, and so we didn't even share that side of it. So we're
going in order of time.
We are going in order.
So we're trying not to confuse people.
Right.
We're starting at the beginning. There's so much more to come. But that's where we're at.
Yeah.
So we hosted the boys and decided we're adopting.
Get ready. It's a good ride.
Yeah.
So we pray for everybody.
All right. Heavenly Father, we thank you right now that we get to be a part of a redemption story in the lives of our kids, God. Thank you for this blessing. God, I pray for those adoptive families right now that might be in the midst of this, God. I pray that you'll give wisdom to parents. I pray that you'll bring healing in our kids, God. I pray that you'll bring redemption in all of our families and in our lives, God. And the hosting organizations, God, I pray that you'll just put blessings on them, God, as they give an experience to these children. I pray that you will just put divine connections between families and children, God. Those kids who need a loving and caring home, God, I pray that you will speak to the hearts of our churches and our families, God, that they will open their home to be able to bring them in and take care of the orphans as you called us to. So, God, I pray that you'll bless this podcast and those who are listening and watching, and I pray that you'll be with us, we pray, in Jesus' heavenly name. Amen.
Amen. Hey, thanks again for watching Encouragement Today. It's been great sharing our story with you today. I want to leave you with the blessing. May the Lord bless you. May he keep you. May his face shine upon you. And may he bring you peace. And may you be encouraged today to pursue whatever God's calling you to pursue, whether it's adoption, fostering, anything in that realm with kids in some difficult places. So, hey, go and do it. Be blessed and be encouraged. We'll see you next episode.